What's up, YouTube? Capital G here. So, giving you guys a little tidbit of information that I'm sure a bunch of you guys probably were suspecting was going to happen soon, and some of you guys probably already heard. Mass Blast is finally making its way over to the TCG. I think the way that it works is Shonen, I think there are certain cards that they own the rights to that they can just release at any given time, and I think they hold their polls to figure out which one people have interest in. And I feel like Blast was on multiple polls. I feel like he didn't win one time. I think maybe Hope Zexel won, and I was actually, Hope Zexel, I was like, I really don't know how good that card's gonna be, but goddamn, after playing Hope Zexel, I was like, yeah, this card is real as fuck. With Master Blast, guys, I can't help but just not be excited about this card, and it's because of the obvious. Just because we don't have Elemental Hero Stratos, and if you've ever played Heroes, I'm not talking about the Hero Beat or Hero Stun way back in the day and the 5Ds days. I'm talking about if you've played the Fusion variants, if you've played Miracle Heroes, or if you've played Mass Heroes, you know that it always seems like the Wind Fusions, their viability is generally linked to Stratos. You know what I mean? A lot of times when Stratos was legal, maybe you'd run one copy of Great Tornado, and sometimes you'd summon it one out of every 5 games, and it might win you the duel. But for the most part, when Stratos got banned, all the win cards kind of lost their meaning because you just really don't need them that much. And I mean, if you look at Mass Heroes right now, outside of Darklaw and Anki, some people don't even run Acid, and Acid is a way better card than this. Outside of those two and Acid, you really don't need to run any of the Mass Heroes because there's, the extra deck space is so tight, and with Trito coming out in the future, that's going to be a card that greatly benefits heroes. That's going to take up 2 or 3 spots. I don't really know that there is a place for Mass Hero Blast. I mean, I guess if you're running a Jaden deck and, maybe you're experimenting with things like Avion, I think that card's terrible, but if you're running that, I guess you could summon it. It really doesn't have to do with the card itself. It has to do what summons the card, or what has to do with what summons the card. The fact that we just don't have Stratos. Now I'll go ahead and read Master Blast because it's a fairly decent card. It's not as good as Anki. It's not as good as Darklaw, obviously. It's not as good as Acid. I don't even think it's as good as the light one, to be honest. I think it's probably, it's not even as good as Koga. It's probably, I don't know, the 5th or 6th best Mass Hero, something of that sort. Anyway, so let's go ahead and read the card. So it's level 6 Wind Warrior, 2200 attack, 1800 defense. You see the stat line, not as good as Darklaw, not as high as Acid. That 2600 is definitely good. Plus, Acid actually takes the attacks of your opponent's monsters down too. So Acid does a lot of battle damage potentially. Let's see. Must be special summoned with a mass change. Cannot be special summoned by other ways. Okay, if you've ever played Mass Heroes, you pretty much expect that. If this card is special summoned, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls. Its attack, its attack becomes half its current attack. If I'm not mistaken, I swear that that's taken from Gaia. I swear Elemental Hero Gaia has the same effect. I could be wrong about that, but I feel like it does. Once per turn during either player's turn, you can pay 500 light points, then target one spell or trap card your opponent controls, return it to the hand. That effect is okay, mainly because it's once per turn. I mean, mainly because it's a quick effect and you can use it constantly. I think that the best application for that is on continuous spells or traps. Is for things like if your opponent flips over a Fiendish Chain, or even more commonly, if your opponent flips over a Fog Blade and they try and negate one of your guys, you can obviously bounce the Fog Blade to your opponent's hand, and they don't, it doesn't obviously resolve, and then they have to basically reset it. By the time they reset it, just bounce it again. Or during the end phase, you can just, if they, just set a card, you can just bounce it during the end phase, and they don't get to use that card, whether it's a trap or a quick play, or maybe it's just a bluff. You just, you feel a little bit safer with the less spell and trap cards your opponent has. So it's a decent effect. I don't think, even if you use it 3 times in a duel, that's only 1500 life points. It's not that big of a deal. I don't think that I would run this card even if Stratos was legal. So without Stratos legal, I really don't know that there's a place in the meta for Mass Hero Blast. I mean, it's probably a great card for collectors. It's a decent card on its own, but with Stratos being banned, guys, I just can't, I am not excited for this card at all. Not knocking the card or knocking the choice. I just think that man, it's just Konami has had so many opportunities to bring Stratos back, and they just don't. They could have done it with their Heroes Strike structure deck. They could do it with this. They could do it with so many opportunities, but I don't know. I mean, I guess this card's okay, but I just don't think that when fusions are viable without Stratos, because you have to go out of your way to like to some of these things. Like you'll have to play like Mass Change 2, or for like Great Tornado you have to run a lot of like wind monsters that you wouldn't normally run, like maybe mixing in like Reborn Tengus or something like that, which I guess can be decent in Heroes but not ideal. So you guys let me know what you think. Thank you for watching. As always, give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you have not already.